So we plant our seeds. Once we plant our seeds, we have to tend the garden, which means we have to bring our attention back to those seeds. It's like little bells that we ring. I offer my touch. Every time I touch the feet, I always think of firmness and gentleness. Every time. So the feet are my bell. I touch with confidence and humility. And we begin this sequence with the intention to keep energy moving, to make this a dance. And every dance needs a rhythm. So we begin with an even, steady rhythm like a metronome or like a grandfather clock ticking. I'll start on one side. And my movements are really just that. Movement for the sake of movement. And then as I move, I make subtle adjustments in my body and my hand placement so that I find the magic nests. I find the treasures. Always listening. Noticing how much my partner wishes to help me, how much they surrender. Even in movements like this, where you have a moment of stillness, you can still feel for the pulse, listen for your own breath, your partner's breath, and keep a really slow, subtle movement happening, even if it's just taking your sweet time and applying body weight. Going a little bit further, sinking, touch, and start to make your way out, slow. So it seems like there's no movement, but there's always energy moving. I encourage you to use this kind of sequence to keep it really simple. Choose variations that help you to feel confident, help you to feel comfortable. Prioritize your comfort. And even just go to a place where you can relax. I know I could go further. I could apply more pressure. But if I stay here, I stay really relaxed, and I can keep moving my body. I also know that for my receiver, there'll be a place of intensity if I go deeper, and that's the place where we both will tend to hold our breath. So at least for this sequence, let me just flirt with that edge, but stay just behind it. Just behind it. I don't have to necessarily touch the deepest part. Again, in all of this movement, there's a lot of subtle feeling. So I can feel where there's a tendency for Jolene to help me, where she wants to move for me. rather than just be moved. So a lot of this rocking for her will be really nice. Really help her to unplug, to tune out. Any adjustment that I make with my body is part of the story. It's necessary. So as long as I'm in contact, it's all good. Maybe I'll surprise her with something she's not expecting. We trick the mind. One foot here along the straight leg helps to fix the hips so that the movement, the twist, goes into the lower spine. This is one variation. Another variation which we've practiced is to let the hips roll so that the twist goes into the upper spine, like so. Use all the tools at your disposal. Stay in touch. First, I get comfortable. Then I'm going to place my right hand underneath the shoulder blade. My fingers actually touch the spine, and I just keep shaking her until I feel she's relaxed. And then here I lift the fingers of my right hand up like so, making a little C cup with my hands. As I release the arm down, I lift gently with my fingers. I release as I lift the arm up, and then support. So this little palpation with my fingers it's moving in opposition to the rotation of the shoulder. And in that way, we get to observe the range of movement of the shoulder with support or an impulse at different points. So here the point is between the shoulder blade and the spine. Then we move to similar type of movement, but we go out to the upper arm, head of the arm bone and the shoulder. So as the elbow drops, I support with the magic 2 underneath the arm bone at the back. And then as I lift the arm up, I depress the front of the arm bone with my thumb. So it's like a locomotive movement here. There we go. Very nice movement, feels very good. Doesn't have to be very deep in order to be effective. I can keep this movement, and now I just wiggle the elbow side to side, like wagging the elbow, and my thumb will run just underneath the clavicle here. So I'm going to adjust my body position so I'm more side on, and then I let my thumb sink as I wag the elbow from side to side, depressing the thumb in different spots here. So the movement that I create in Jolene's arm will help to facilitate release. Even if it's just like this, a little bit of movement, but it can really help. A little bit more body weight in half kneeling. And I'm going to adjust my position so that we can play a little bit with this technique we learned earlier. So I find different nests for my hand, looking for the perfect one. Again, I'm depressing as I lift the arm up. And then here I find, oh yeah, the magic nest, and I can just wait for it. So sometimes, as I said earlier, sometimes I go to a place where my arm shakes. I know that's where I want to facilitate something more than what I can do with grace. This is what I can do elegantly. Yeah, an elegant flow. So I'll just stay here and trust that that's enough. And even as I stay here, I can feel that I'm more relaxed. I'm dropping in. I can feel her breath getting longer and more steady. As I release, I'm going to use my fingers cupping over the top of the shoulder to shake it out. And then I'll sit back so I can massage the hand. I interlace my pinky through the webbing between the thumb and index finger, as well as the pinky and ring finger, so that I can spread the palm, and then I use my thumbs to depress the base of the wrist, or just penetrate here with thumb joints, spreading the wrist in both directions away from the midline. And another nice thing to do with the fingers is to give the fingers a squeeze so that we touch all the digits there, especially apply pressure to the sides of the digits. So that's really nice and fun. Then we'll take a hand hold like this, a nice grip. With one hand, I'll walk around so that I can take a hold of the other. Same way. And then here I lean to one side to create space under the back. I simply place my foot toe in. I do the same on the other side. Feet toe in. I have some space for my heels. And I just encourage her arms to relax. I give a little shake as I lift with the tops of my feet. And then to come out, same way. Lift up one side, release the foot. Lift up the other side, release the foot. And then we're on the second side. So here once again, I place my hand under the shoulder blade, and I'm just receiving her shoulder into my hand. I give a little impulse with my fingers to create this circular movement, kind of like a locomotive. I'm constantly adjusting my body so that I feel more comfortable. Now the rhythm depends on what you feel, depends on your receiver. So if you're really taking your time to listen, you'll know whether you need to increase the tempo or decrease the tempo so that you keep the dance moving, but in time with your partner. You want to give them time to surrender into it. Sometimes it means you spend a little extra time in one technique, maybe something that you feel confident in, so that in that your partner will surrender more of their trust. Thumb along the clavicle here, a little wag of the elbow. You can feel from Jolene that we could stay here for a while. But you guys need time to practice. Suli's asleep over there. Switching hands, I set myself up. Once again, important point here is that My right hand is just outside my hip so that when I find this nest, that perfect nest, the magic nest, there it is. It's very easy for me to apply body weight because I just lean directly towards where I've planted my hand. Skin burn? Oh, yes. And then a little refinement here. Not really a refinement, maybe kind of a fundamental principle in order to be able to apply body weight safely is that you want to draw the energy towards your receivers, your friend's midline, towards their sternum so that it draws the skin to a slack range, to a place where it's not under tension but loose. And when the skin is loose, you can sink. I always look at the fabric to see whether or not the fabric is being pulled, and that helps me to know whether or not the skin is being pulled. Shake it off. Then we give a little love to the hand. Try to remember in your treatments to always touch the hands. This is what my teacher Arnaud would say. We forget to touch the hands. And they do so much of the work in our lives we translate through the hands. So give them a little bit of your generosity. And then we continue working in this circular fashion to finish on the opposite leg as we began. A little bit of traction. I'll move a little bit more quickly so we really will see the dance here. She wants to do it for me. I have to trick her. There we go. You can see that she's smiling now. A little surprise. That's where the dynamic part of the practice can be really fun. You evoke that spirit of surprise. One helpful point here with this technique is to remember to apply pressure perpendicular to the thigh bone. So I'll adjust where I'm sitting relative to the angle of her hip to the thigh. And the other thing that I can do to adjust this angle of my leg to her thigh is to adjust where this foot is here. You can see that there. I'll need to move more like this. What I want to do is have the thigh just shy of 90 degrees so that when I apply pressure this way to the thigh bone, that it's not compressing the side body on this side. Better. Nice and slow. Very gentle. A little bit deeper. Do you guys remember whose fault is it if your receiver's not relaxed? It's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. Yep. Try to finish with something symmetrical, like the bullfighter. This can be really tonifying and grounding, especially after working on individual sides. And then we seal in that familiar place. Place of ease and comfort.